Good afternoon and welcome to the Daily News Analysis by Civil Service Institute, Pala. I hope you are in the best of spirits and good health. Let's look at the top stories of the day. These are the top stories of the day, and this has been taken from both the Hindu and the Indian Express. India's total trade deficit narrows to $6.6 billion in May. Financial Action Task Force, that is FATF, condemns 𝗗𝗃𝗄𝗆 attack. And what is the strategic importance of Strait of Hormuz? And what is the significance of Shipkila Pass? How India will conduct census, Bonn Climate Change Conference begins, and India-Cyprus relations. News in detail. The first article, India's total trade deficit narrows to $6.6 billion in May, and this was attributed due to low oil prices and strong services exports. This includes a 30% reduction from the same period in 2024. This was due to a combination of a fall in imports and growth in exports, especially the services sector. While the overall trade deficit narrowed, merchandise trade still showed a contraction, indicating the challenges faced by India in the goods sector, particularly with the global instability in oil prices. Here, you can also see an infographic about the dip in the deficit. Total exports grew by 2.8% to 71 billion in May 2025. At the same time, total imports contracted by 1.7%, primarily due to sharp fall in global oil prices. And this infographic was sourced from the Ministry of Commerce and Industry. Moving on to the next news. Here we have the FATF, that is the Financial Action Task Force, condemns 𝗗𝗃𝗄𝗆 attack. The terrorist attack in 𝗗𝗃𝗄𝗆, Kashmir, and for the first time acknowledged the concept of state-sponsored terrorism in its report. The FATF condemned the attack that occurred in April 2025, marking it as an act of terrorism linked to financial support from the state-sponsored entities. This is the first time ever FATF has explicitly recognized the concept of state-sponsored terrorism, and it was recognized as a funding source for terrorist organizations. This marks a shift in the international policy, with FATF now including state sponsorship as a critical issue in combating terrorist financing. So what is FATF? It's a Paris-based intergovernmental agency set up in 1989 to combat money laundering and terror financing. And there are two important and two famous lists maintained by FATF. They are the grey list and the black list. So let's look at the FATF grey list. It includes countries with deficiencies in anti-money laundering and counter-terrorist financing regimes, and it is subject to increased monitoring and must work with FATF to improve their regimes. Such countries may face sanctions from institutions like IMF and World Bank, and it can adversely affect their trade and investment. So, FATF grey list is officially known as jurisdictions under increased monitoring, while the blacklist is known as high-risk jurisdictions subject to call for action. And this list, the blacklist, currently includes 3 countries. They are North Korea, Iran, and Myanmar. Financial Action Task Force stands on state-sponsored terrorism, increases global pressure on countries like Pakistan to curtail support for militant groups. Moving on to the next news. Here, we are looking at an important choke point in the global oil trade, and it is called Strait of Hormuz. Iran could block the Strait of Hormuz, through which 20 to 30% of global oil trade passes, and this Iran can do in retaliation for the Israeli attacks that is going on between Iran and Israel. Impact of the war is likely to derail efforts to normalize Red Sea trade. Shipping in the route had shrunk dramatically due to Houthi attacks last year. India's dependence on the region for energy, nearly two-thirds of its crude oil and half of its LNG imports pass through the Strait of Hormuz. This narrow waterway, only 21 miles wide at its narrowest point, handles nearly a fifth of the global trade and is indispensable to India, which relies on imports for over 80% of its energy needs. The Red Sea shipping route was getting back to normal from the last year's strikes by the proxies in the Middle East, but the present escalation can also derail the trade routes through the Suez Canal. Moving on to the next news. Here, we are looking at the significance of Shipkila Pass. The Shipkila Pass is located at 3,930 meters above sea level in 𝗗𝗃𝗃 district of Himachal Pradesh, and it's been a vital trade route between India and Tibet for centuries. The trade through Shipkila was disrupted by geopolitical events like the Indo-China War of 1962, the Doklam standoff, and recently the COVID-19 pandemic. All these further led to the closure of commercial exchange. The Shipkila Pass and its connection to Tibet dates back to the 15th century, with oral histories suggesting even older roots. What was the recent development? The Chief Minister of Himachal Pradesh opened the pass to domestic tourists requiring only an Aadhaar card. This move has sparked optimism for reviving trade and tourism in the area. Local communities in 𝗗𝗃𝗃 are advocating for reopening the trade route, which historically connected them with Tibet. The close trade relations has also shaped local culture, craftsmanship, and dietary habits. The reopening offers strategic and cultural benefits like religious tourism. It could shorten the journey to Manas Sarovar by 14 days, boosting religious tourism. It would create local employment, enhance infrastructure, and stimulate the hospitality sector. It can also be seen as a diplomatic gesture to serve as a model for cross-border trust building and independent high-level state diplomacy. Buddhism binds the region, and the reopening can boost terrorism and trade in the area. Even though the volume of bilateral trade between the two areas is not significant, it can optimistically revive the local communities' development strategies. The next news is about how India will conduct Census 2027, which will be the first digital census. India's 2027 census will be digitally transformed, marking a significant leap in data collection and governance. This will be India's first digital census with technology-driven solutions for enumeration and data collection. It is planned to be conducted in two phases. Phase 1, which will be the house listing, and it is planned to be conducted in 2026, whereas the second phase, that includes population enumeration, will be conducted in 2027. So now let's look at the phase 1, house listing. This phase involves collecting detailed information about housing stock, amenities, family structures, living conditions across states, districts, and sub-districts. Enumerators will record building characteristics like whether it's residential or commercial, urban or rural, number of floors, whether it has basic water and sanitation facilities, etc. This will help create a housing profile for each area essential for urban planning, infrastructure development, and resource allocation. Coming to the phase 2, the population enumeration, which is planned to be conducted in 2027, it focuses on collecting granular demographic data such as the very minute details like name, age, sex, caste, disability, education, migration patterns, religious affiliations, etc. Technology adoption. Enumerators will use apps to input data in real time, reducing human error and enabling more accurate data collection. A key feature will be the introduction of a unique household ID, which will allow the geotagging of households and caste-based enumeration. For the first time, app-based data collection will be used extensively with real-time validation and corrections. And 3 new features are also added, which includes transgender identification, caste enumeration, and migration mapping. And why the census matters? Census it actually serves as a national mirror, reflecting the changing patterns of identity, occupation, living conditions, family structures, and this will, in essence, capture the change crucial to assess the impact of existing policies and designing new policies for the new times, especially for the underserved. And the census is the basis on which electoral constituencies are drawn and seats reserved for scheduled caste and scheduled tribes. Article 82 of the Indian Constitution mandates the limitation of constituencies based on the most recent census. Articles 330 and 332 also reserve seats for SCs and STs in legislatures. That is also done on the basis of census data. Central grants to states and districts are often population-based and thus depend on census data, as are subsidies and ration allocations. Altogether, census is really important for a country like India, which is blessed with demographic dividend. So let's hope the census will be a success. And there are certain challenges associated with the census. They are digital literacy, digital access in remote areas, app glitches. Keeping this in mind, the app is built to function both offline and online and auto-synchronize once signal returns. Training enumerators to enter accurate data and handling of sensitive information is also a challenge at the moment. Moving on to the next news. I hope how India conducts census was understood to all of you. In this news, we'll see Bonn Climate Conference. The Bonn Climate Change Conference, a significant UNFCCC event, sets the stage for global climate negotiations. It addresses crucial issues like adaptation, mitigation, and climate finance. The Bonn Climate Change Conference is a critical mid-year meeting that brings together governments, scientists, and climate experts to review the progress on climate action and implementations outlined in the Paris Agreement. Which are the key bodies involved in this conference? They are the subsidiary body for implementation and the subsidiary body for scientific and technological advice. Both these bodies play key roles in guiding and facilitating the discussions and decisions of Bonn Climate Change Conference. This year's focus is on climate finance, adaptation efforts, and global goal on adaptation. What is this global goal on adaptation? This is a goal that aims to evaluate global progress on adaptation strategies and set measurable targets for the developing world. Bonn Climate Change Conference will set the agenda for next COP, which usually takes place in November. Many developing countries, including India, argue that climate finance commitments are still unmet and the gap between pledges and reality is widening. India has also highlighted the need for technology transfer and capacity building to assist in climate adaptation. The last article for the day, India-Cyprus relations. Our Prime Minister, Sri Narendra Modi, has recently visited Cyprus. So Cyprus holds strategic importance for India due to its location in the Mediterranean. Here you can see the location of Cyprus. It is situated in the Mediterranean Sea. It serves as a crucial node in the Middle East Europe Economic Corridor, India Middle East Europe Economic Corridor, facilitating trade and connectivity between India, the Middle East, and the Europe. This geographical position makes Cyprus an essential part of India's broader economic and diplomatic strategy. Cyprus has been a reliable friend for India in almost all international forums. It has supported India's bid for a permanent seat in the UN Security Council, and Cyprus is set to hold the presidency of the Council of the European Union in the first half of 2026. And with this, India seeks stronger trade and security ties with Europe, and Cyprus can play a crucial role, vital role in these efforts. Now, what do you mean by Cyprus question? Since 1974, Cyprus has been divided between Turkey-backed Northern Cyprus and the internationally recognized Republic of Cyprus, and this dispute is known as the Cyprus question. Here, you can also see a map of Cyprus. Where is it located? It is located in the strategically important Mediterranean Sea, and you can also see the neighboring countries. The northern Cyprus, consisting of the north and eastern part of Cyprus, is backed by Turkey, and the capital, Nicosia, is shared between both the parts. With this, we come to an end of the session. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you. Have a nice day.